Tyler Rankin just wants one thing out of life: to get a good night's sleep. But for him, it's a struggle.
Pretty much everything under the sun, I've tried it. Weighted blankets, melatonin and magnesium, sleep teas, sleep hypnotism, sleep masks.
His tickle trunk of sleep gadgets has all that and more. And he's found stuff that works for him. But it ain't cheap. Hi, I'm Paul Haberstrood. Welcome to The Cost of Living. How much is a good night's sleep worth? It's probably priceless. But a whole industry now exists that's putting a price on it. Welcome to the sleep economy. Also today, the gamification of shopping. Missions, prizes, free spins, they're all part of buying stuff online these days. It can be fun. But who's playing who? Up first, if Trump follows through with his promised trade war, Canada will retaliate. But their economy, it's 10 times larger than ours. So what will it take for our counter-tariffs to work? The Jim Beam Distillery is in an old-timey wooden building on Happy Hollow Road in Claremont, Kentucky. Sherry Moke Edwards can still see the stacks of oak barrels where they age the bourbon, and she can hear the owner's voice in her head. Booker No doesn't greet everyone who visits, but he came out to see her.
I remember meeting him and walking in, and he was such a welcoming individual, and he opened his mouth, and I'll never forget it, and he said, "Hello, and welcome to Jim Beam Distilleries. It's great to have you here."
That's some Southern charm. Now, it probably didn't hurt that, at the time, she was the main buyer for the Ontario Liquor Board. The LCBO has more than 600 stores. That makes it one of the largest liquor buyers in the world. So at a trade show, when the LCBO rolls through the door,
Absolutely, they know.
suppliers line up to get time with the Canadians.
Everybody wants to meet with LCBO. And so, when you get there, you're starting at 9 o'clock and you're going from meeting to meeting to meeting to meeting until the end of a very long day. And then you're doing supplier visits or, hospitality events in the evening. And then you start all over the next day.
Canada is one of the largest markets for Kentucky bourbon. So if the U.S. decides to start a trade war, that makes bourbon a prime target for our counter-tariffs. It's near the top of the list, along with other iconic American products like orange juice and Harley-Davidson motorbikes. Retaliatory tariffs will make all of those things more expensive here. And those U.S. businesses would feel that. Florida orange juice is already teetering from decades of hurricanes and citrus disease. Losing Canadian sales would be another blow it can't really afford. Kentucky's bourbon industry is already asking the White House to back off. It's part of a group called TOAST, not tariffs. That's the kind of pressure Canada wants to see from our counter-tariffs. But is it enough to get Trump to change his mind?
So my short answer is probably not. Kentucky bourbon is not, the major industry of the U.S. So the impact on that industry, even though there will be the negative impact, the impact will be pretty concentrated and small.
Hae-Young Yu is a political economist at Princeton, where she studies how lobbying can influence government policy. We don't know what Trump will do when his 30-day pause on tariffs ends next week. If he does follow through, Canada has counter-tariffs ready to go. And they might work, but it'll be an uphill fight. Here's what makes things so tough for us. For the US, exports just aren't that big of a deal. They only make up about 7% of its economy. That's why Trump can be so cavalier about starting trade wars. He's sitting on a $29 trillion economy. Canada's threat of $150 billion in tit-for-tat tariffs is a big number to us, but to them, it's kind of a drop in the bucket. On the other hand, Hae Young does see pathways for those tariffs to work. Like, if we position them correctly, our counter-tariffs could actually help us gain allies in the U.S. The message we want to send could be something like, sure, we're hitting your industry with counter-tariffs, but hey, we don't want this. We're still your buddy. This is all Trump. You should take it up with him.
Canada should not approach this issue as a Canada versus U.S. I think Canada should approach this in terms of Canada and American producers and consumers versus Trump. There are a lot of domestic interest groups within the U.S. really don't want this. And then so you can actually make this kind of coalitional effort between Canada and U.S. domestic groups who oppose this, so that it doesn't look like Canada versus U.S. kind of framework. I think that's exactly what Trump really wants, but you should really try to avoid that kind of framing.
The kind of coalitional effort she talks about, it's already coming together. The National Association of Home Builders has come out against tariffs. They warn that extra costs will slow down construction and make homes more expensive. Americans are feeling high housing costs just like we are, so that touches a lot of people. So do gasoline prices. That's why Trump is talking about a 10% tariff on Canadian oil instead of 25%. The CEO of Ford says tariffs will blow a hole in the auto industry. That's a high-profile voice making our case for us, coming from the right industry in the right state.
Trump really cares about jobs in manufacturing. He really cares about manufacturing in the swing states. And he also cares about, I think, the American auto industry, because that's very symbolic. So if Canada could actually show that the retaliatory tariff and also the tariff by the Trump has this kind of very specific consequences on the areas or the region that Trump really cares, that argument I think it could travel well.
Hae Young says the art of lobbying comes down to information. What kind you put in front of people, but also who's presenting it. Like, it's great when the governor of Kentucky, Andy Beshear, goes on CNN and defends his state's bourbon industry.
Tariffs are a bad idea, and it's for a simple reason. Tariffs are a really bad idea.
We couldn't have said that better ourselves. But he's also Kentucky's Democratic governor, and Trump carried that state by 30 points. So Andy Beshear probably doesn't have the president's ear.
It's important to know who are the core members of this decision makers and what types of information reach them and what types of groups and individuals have access to these people. Trump, I think he tried to create an image that he decides everything, but politics and policymaking, although it looks very uncertain and unpredictable, there are some, I think, regularities and rules. So if you understand the process, if you know the personnels who involved in process, that might give some possible insights about which strategy Canada should really employ.
Part of Canada's job now, Hae Young says, is figuring out who Trump listens to. Even among Republicans, not everyone is on the same page when it comes to tariffs. And there's always an inner circle. The people there now could get shuffled out. When the voices in that circle change, so could policy.
Within the Republican Party, there are, I think, factions and people who actually think differently from the core Trump people. Once there are some economic indicators look bad, for example inflation, we will every month we'll have inflation numbers, we'll have a job creation numbers in especially manufacturing, right? Think about it. If that accumulate over time, the numbers doesn't look good, so that it's getting harder for these people to defend these ideas.
Canada's retaliatory tariffs won't bring down a $29 trillion economy, but can they apply enough pressure in the right spots? On home builders, at the gas pump, does a Florida orange juice magnate whisper in Trump's ear after a round of golf? Any one of those things may not matter on their own, but together they can add up. Hae Young says that's how Canada's counter-tariffs can punch above their economic weight, by aligning the financial interests of influential U.S. voices with our own and motivating them to put pressure on the White House. Sherry Moak Edwards, who spent years buying for the LCBO, she had a lot of good times in the U.S. with a lot of good people.
I think people, certain areas in the world are very welcoming. They're very accommodating. They're very friendly. And, that was my experience throughout that region of Kentucky, of 100%.
We have a lot of friends down south, in high and low places. With apologies to Garth Brooks, maybe the whiskey can drown and the beer industry can help chase our tariff blues away.
And I'll be okay. I'm not big on social graces. Think I'll slip on down to the oasis. So I've got friends in low places.
Coming up on next week's show, we're talking about jobs. Canada's labor market is tight. Unemployment is still over 6%. And I'm hearing, Danielle, it's hard to get noticed out there.
Yeah, Jen. I met a woman who sent out 500 resumes, didn't even get a nibble.
Ooh.
Yeah, so she changed her strategy and went out for coffee with 79 different strangers.
Even now, when I'm walking in the city, especially in downtown, most of the coffee shops are very familiar for me because I've been in most of them.
You've hit up every coffee shop in downtown Calgary?
Yeah, somehow.
How do you feel about coffee right now?
To be honest, I don't drink coffee anymore.
Why you should network. That's next week on The Cost of Living.
On your Radio and by podcast, this is The Cost of Living. I'm Paul Havershrud. Do you still have an old school loyalty punch card tucked somewhere in your wallet? Buy 10 subs and your next footlong's on us? Well, the online version of that has really leveled up. More digital bells, whistles, chances to earn points. But as shopping becomes more gamified, the question is, who's getting played?
Spin to win wheels, countdown clocks, prizes just waiting to be won. These days, online shopping looks a lot like online gambling. Doug Stevens is a retail analyst in Toronto. He says whether it's Roll Up the Rim or McDonald's Monopoly, games have always been a great draw.
What we're seeing today is really just the digitalization of those same concepts, trying to unlock the consumer psychology around this idea of winning something.
We all want to win, even if the prize is almost nothing.
It may only be that you get 5 or 10% off your purchase, but the rationalization kicks in all of a sudden where you start saying, I'm not shopping, I'm not spending, I'm saving.
Loyalty apps like PC Rewards, websites like Sephora and eBay, all use what's known as gamification tactics. But nobody goes all in like Temu, the Chinese shopping app that sells pretty much everything.
I'm shopping like a billionaire. I'm shopping like a billionaire.
Farhana Dar shops a lot on Temu. She goes there to buy kitchen stuff or presents for the kids.
For my granddaughter, I bought some Barbie clothes, and they're very nice, cute, and I think she has about close to 50 dresses because I bought it a couple of times for her.
Her Barbie has a better wardrobe than I have.
Oh, so same with me, same.
Farhana figures she drops about $100 a month on Temu. The prices are good. And with its flashing lights and prizes, it's also kind of addictive.
Yes, it is. Because you have nothing to do. You're sitting down and you're just going through apps and things. And then there's a wheel, then there is a opening the gift boxes, $50 or $20 off kind of things.
Brooke Struck, founder of the consulting firm Converge, says that addictive quality is the whole point. And it's not just marketing, it's science.
What they're doing is they're hijacking our dopamine systems, right? They get us into this cycle where it's like they give us this great, really delightful experience that just like gives us that shot of dopamine, and we're all excited and like tantalized.
And the thing about dopamine is it keeps you wanting more.
And so that's where we will go and like chase the next thing and take the next action to keep getting that next hit of dopamine.
Retail analyst Doug Stevens says that's why gamification works. Customers will keep coming back for it, and they'll stick around.
Just as a casino wants you to stay at the table longer, these retailers want you to stay in their stores longer or on their websites longer. And that's basically as complex as this gets. They just want you there longer, they want you shopping longer, and they want you spending more.
And the prizes you win or the savings you get, that's all built into the profit model. Because, just like in Vegas, the odds are always in favor of the house.
You have to understand that you literally are being played. You know, you may think you're playing the game, but you are the game, right? You are the one that is being played.
For the cost of living, I'm Jennifer Keane.
On your Radio and by podcast, this is The Cost of Living. I'm Paul Havershrud. So, Daniel Nerman, how you sleeping these days? Peaceful, restful, worry-free?
Meh.
Okay, not exactly the noise of a woman who's getting a solid 8 hours a night.
If I've ever told you that I got 8 hours of sleep, I was lying. There's a lot of stuff that keeps me awake. There's a lot of stuff keeping all of us awake. According to the Public Health Agency of Canada, half of all adults have trouble going to sleep or staying asleep.
Yeah, but this isn't exactly a new problem.
No, our quality of sleep has been going downhill for a while. You know, a lot of experts say it has to do with us being just like so connected to stuff, our screens, our phones. We're just on all the time, and it's really hard to shut off. And what that has done is it's created a sleep economy.
Which is?
A cottage industry full of people trying to sell us a better night's sleep. From CPAP machines to cooling mattresses, we are spending so much money on sleep. I mean, like, okay, last month, Google, I went in to see, like, what was the top trending, search term. Can you guess what it was?
Was it sleep?
No, it was sleep maxing.
Sleep maxing.
Sleep maxing. Got the red light therapy machine going. This mimics a sunset. It's going to signal to my brain that it's nighttime. It's all about the routines, the gadgets, and the hacks that influencers swear by to improve their sleep.
So influencers, they're just out there in them streets peddling sleep hacks.
It's big on TikTok. A lot of Gen Zs are into it because, they care a lot about their health and wellness, so they want all the sleep gadgets.
Weighted blankets, melatonin and magnesium, sleep teas, sleep hypnotism, sleep masks, pretty much everything under the sun. I've tried it.
Tyler Rankin lives just outside Toronto, and he says he's been a terrible sleeper his entire life. He remembers not being able to sleep as a kid. And all that stuff he bought to help him sleep, some of it worked, some of it didn't. But there is one thing he swears by. It's like a yoga mat, only it's covered with spikes.
So it's not overly painful. It works on the same concept as a real bed of nails. So when you're ready for bed, kind of slowly just lie down. I shouldn't fall asleep, but we'll see.
Did he just fake snore?
He totally fake snored there. He's a bit of a joker. But yeah, he just loves and raves about this bed of nails.
What did he pay for it?
About $100. And that's just one thing. Tyler figures he's spent nearly $1,000 on different sleep aids and sleep devices. And he's not the only one. The global sleep economy is estimated to be worth more than $90 billion.
Well, yeah, everyone sleeps. You kind of can't get a bigger market than that.
Sure. And we're even spending money on sleep when we are not at home. Because who wouldn't want to have the deepest, most magical sleep when they're traveling? Laura L. is a consultant for the United Nations World Tourism Organization, so she pays close attention to travel trends.
I was in South Korea at this high-end hotel. I actually got a whole menu of pillows. I could choose from one of 7 different pillows, and then all the duvets. And before you get there, you can choose your mattress type.
So hotels are trying to get in on this. They want a piece of the action.
Oh, yeah, they're cashing in. They actually call it sleep tourism. And Laura says it's really taking off. She's seen hotels with white noise machines like built right into the walls of the rooms. And then they're doing more relaxing activities like meditation and forest bathing.
I'm sorry, forest bathing? Like, isn't that just like walking in, like going on a hike?
I think so, except it's not free. The Fairmont charges $350 plus tax to forest bathe with them.
You'd forest bathe with me for $175. Just saying.
Laura says this kind of thing is happening at hotels everywhere.
Years ago, it would be maybe the granola crunchy kind of hippie yoga retreat places. But now people are really appreciating the importance of taking care of themselves. They're just go, go, go. And they need, to just let go and feel like themselves again.
I got to tell you about this survey that Hilton Hotels just did. They talked to 13,000 people about what they like to do when they're on vacation. Apparently, travelers love Herkel-Dirkling.
What we talked about you making up words. Stop doing it.
I didn't make it up. It's real. It's a Scottish word. Herkel-Dirkling is when you lie in bed all morning. You're awake, but you just don't get up.
I think the cool kids, at least, maybe I don't know what the cool kids do, but I think this is called bed rotting by the youth.
Hey, man, whatever you call it, it's self-care. People are tired. But the sleep economy, Paul, it's not just about the money we're spending to get more rest. It's also about the cost of sleeplessness. It's estimated that about a quarter of adults in Canada have insomnia, and that each of them costs the economy around $5,000 a year in lost productivity.
Really?
Yeah, I talked to Greg Stewart about this. He's the CEO of Rebel Sleep Institute in Calgary, and he works with companies to help identify and treat workers who may have sleep disorders.
Yeah, so what I would say is that there's increased recognition that sleep-deprived employees have considerable impact on the bottom line for organizations and profitability.
Well, how does sleep deprivation hurt profits?
So chronic fatigue, it can be connected to other health issues like diabetes and hypertension. And Greg says those employees who aren't sleeping well, they'll use their benefits more than workers who don't. Also, they may call in sick more often because they're tired. So absenteeism is a huge problem. And when they do show up,
they're not really present. They're distracted. They lack concentration and focus, and they make more mistakes.
And making mistakes because you're not sleeping, that can be serious. It can be a safety issue. This is why more industries are bringing in sleep experts.
What kind of businesses are really worried about this?
So Greg, his clients are mostly manufacturing, where workers are operating heavy-duty equipment or working on production lines, and also transportation. He works with a lot of commercial truck drivers. But I also spoke to another sleep clinic that works with lawyers and professional athletes.
So, if you're thinking about a pro athlete or a lawyer, those are some pretty high-end earners. You could see why a company would spend the money to take care of them.
Sure, but Greg says this is definitely becoming more widespread. A lot of employers do offer fatigue assessments and extended benefits for sleep disorders. So you might be covered for medication or a CPAP machine. And sometimes all it takes is, a phone call to HR to find out. Also, there's a lot of organizations out there with free tips on how to get a better night's sleep. Even Tyler Rankin, who spent all that money on sleep gadgets, says in the end, the stuff that really worked for him didn't cost anything.
Your bedroom at nighttime should be kind of like a bat cave. Like 18 degrees is the perfect temperature, pitch dark. You don't go on your phone. You're not scrolling through TikTok or Instagram. Once you get to your bed, your brain needs to know it's time to fall asleep. And the more that you practice that, the better your brain will get at that cue to fall asleep. But if you're not doing those things, then there's no point in jumping into a $300 weighted blanket.
I love that he figured this out, right? Like sleep hygiene, and he figured out just how to get himself to sleep.
Yeah, but he still is a big fan of lying down on that bed of nails.
I've told so many people about this thing that I should start getting a royalty for it, to be honest.
I mean, I bought one.
No, come on, you didn't.
I did.
And?
Well, I've tried it a couple times, and I won't lie. It hurts like a...
Danielle! That's the show. The Cost of Living is based in Calgary. The show is produced by Daniel Nerman, Blair Sanderson, and Jennifer Keane, with help from Jeff Kynock. I'm Paul Habersrud. Thanks for listening.